Ich darf Sie ganz, ganz herzlich begrüßen zur Webkonferenz mit Dyesol und Richard Caldwell. Die Präsentation wird heute etwa 30 Minuten dauern und 15 Minuten Questions. Richard, may I ask to start you?
Good afternoon, Eva, and good afternoon to our listeners. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you today. It's been an eventful quarter, so I look forward to taking your questions at the end of this brief presentation. The presentation's been circulated. If we could just begin at page 2, please, Eva.
Yes.
So today I'd like to focus on the quarterly highlights, and I guess some of them, at least prospects in Turkey, at least in the short term, may be considered a low light. But there are a lot of other good and positive things happening within the company, so I hope that's the message we take away from today. Also have a quick look at the commercialization schedule, our progress at the operational and corporate level, some progress at the R&D level in relation to our TAB milestones, an update on our manufacturing and technical collaborations, and just touch on our financial position, as we typically do each quarter. If you could move page forward, please, Eva.
Yes, page 3.
In the ASX release prior to the end of the quarter, we highlighted 4 principal events marking the quarter for the company. The first was Turkey, and of course the event of the attempted coup d'etat. The second being the attainment of the quarterly milestone, which was the 13% plus performance on porous carbon strip cells. The third being some progress in relation to our joint development agreement with Cristal and the joint filing of a patent at the provisional level, which is very exciting. And the fourth highlight being progress of our VDL Emerging Technology Group prototype project. We can move forward, please, Eva.
Slide 4, commercial schedule.
Yes. So the commercialization schedule at the moment remains on schedule. If there is any delay at all, it would not be anything we consider material at the moment. We're just at the moment trying to understand any implications from the the Turkish events, and B, the European summer, which has meant that some of the progress that we had anticipated over July and August may have been delayed a small amount, but nothing to be concerned about. And of course, these are in relation to, in particular, to our VDL prototype project, in relation to projects that have already commenced and have shown pleasing progress. In relation to our metals time schedule or commercialization schedule, it remains pleasingly on progress, so no qualifications whatsoever to announce in relation to metals. Next page, please, Eva.
Yes, 5, corporate and operational progress.
So I guess this is the perhaps the most interesting event or exogenous event for me to report on for the quarter. I have to say we were quite shocked when we awoke on the morning of Saturday, July 16, to hear that there had been an attempted coup d'etat in Turkey. We weren't really sure about the implications, but certainly we're very concerned for our all our friends and business colleagues in Turkey, especially when the initial headlines provided an enormous degree of uncertainty. And as you would appreciate in these sorts of events, the limit of the damage is sometimes hard to ascertain from here in Sydney. So we were very concerned, and it's remained a very concerning event. But fortunately for us, at least, that the coup was unsuccessful, so things have quietened down quite significantly. And although it's always very alarming to hear about any loss of life, the loss of life was reasonably well contained, in the sense that those sorts of events were pretty much washed up over a 12-hour period, and pretty much peace was restored during that. Again, I can't say how shocked and upset we were for our friends in Turkey. We're also quite distressed, of course, because it was our understanding that our progress in relation to confirming our financing by both the Turkish government and the Turkish Development Bank was very far progressed or advanced, and that we were due to have that confirmed very shortly. I do remember on a number of occasions informing the market over the last 6 months that we believed that this due diligence was very mature and very well progressed, and that we were ticking all the necessary boxes in order to achieve that go-ahead for significant allocation of funding, assist with both our prototyping, but also to ensure that this technology was firmly grounded in a long-term commercialisation program for development in Turkey. So very disappointing to see the coup and how that's interrupted that progress. We are in touch with our business partner from Nestle on a daily basis in Turkey. He is a particularly well-connected individual, and he has personally not been affected by any of this. However, it's fair to say that some of our friends in the Ministry of Science, Industry and Technology are no longer in that ministry, so there has been significant dislocation and disruption at the ministerial level. You would have seen on a number of different news reports over the last 2 to 3 weeks that a number of alleged opponents of the nation or of the current government have been either lost their jobs or even worse still been imprisoned, and that is all still working itself out. It has been highly disruptive. We have, of course, there are still a lot of people employed within the ministry, and the minister responsible for this portfolio remains employed. So the message coming from our business partner, this is really just a temporary problem and not something for us to be too concerned about in the long term. Nonetheless, it's obviously taken its toll with some of our investors whose patience has run out in relation to this project. So I thank you. I thank those of you who've remained loyal to the company. In the long term, I think this is something that we'll put behind us relatively quickly, but it's difficult to make any prediction at this stage, and I'd be loath to make any announcements other than to say if you look at the Turkish government website, there have been a number of announcements subsequent to this event which urge foreign investors to take confidence that the country will remain a democracy, that it will be safe to do business in Turkey. As you can well imagine, there are literally billions and billions of dollars invested both at the individual corporate level, in joint ventures and in outright investments in Turkey, but also in the Turkish Stock Exchange from foreigners, which amount to literally hundreds of billions of dollars of investment. Turkey provides a very major role in terms of manufacturing to the EU, for example, even though it's not a member. And so it's very important for Turkey to maintain confidence and to restore those terms of trade as quickly as possible. So I have every belief that will occur. I believe that the actions of the current president are more about restoring law and order rather than in any way to bring down the democracy. And so we will stay tuned. And of course, it's important for you to know that we are running a number of different projects equivalent to Turkey in parallel, both in Australia, Korea, more recently in Eastern Europe, and also more recently in the UK. So while Turkey was our lead project, we're very well positioned to move on to other projects so that we have some risk mitigation in place. And of course, it's also worth noting that the actual event has caused us no actual financial loss, or have we put any of our resources at risk. Merely just the prospect of doing business in Turkey has been delayed, in my view. So again, it's not pleasing to go through this time, and it's certainly not pleasing for the Turkish people, but ultimately I feel that we will be able to resurrect this project, and there is a long-term commitment from the Turkish government and the Turkish Development Bank to see this joint project succeed. Even as late as last week, I noted that the Turkish government is now placing import duties on coal. This is all consistent with the Turkish government wanting to move away from its dependency on fossil fuels, and also moving away from its dependency on imports from Russia. And the action about putting import duties on coal will not only advance this renewables program, but also help fund projects like ours, which introduce new renewables technology for the benefit of Turkey. Next page, please, Eva.
6, corporate and operational progress.
So we've even had some political manoeuvres going on in our own backyard. We were very pleased to see the Liberal government returned to office, not because we take a view on politics, but more to see that there is continuity, a much-needed continuity in government, which can allow institutions like the CSIRO, ARENA, and the CEFC continue about their business, which has been one of the problems since they came about, ARENA and CEFC in particular, in 2011. As an initiative by the Labor government. One of the problems about having them fully functional has been the fact they have been subject to some attempts to have them repealed. It now would occur to me at least that the nature of the balance of power in both the Senate and the House of Representatives in Australia mean that these two institutions are particularly well protected to go about their business. You will also note in the lead up to the election, the current government was very happy to be identified with Dyesol as one of the leading technology companies in Australia, when both the local member, Dr. Peter Hendy, and also the Honourable Greg Hunt, the Minister for the Environment at the time, came to Dyesol to be covered by the media and strengthen their ties with Dyesol. So we have a number of initiatives, both at the CSIRO level, but also with ARENA in train, and having now successfully completed our measure with ARENA, which was the effectively proof of concept study, if you remember, where we established that the projected cost of power from our technology would be well within the limits set by ARENA, then we feel very confident of moving forward to acquire and achieve large levels of government funding, which of course always assist and help avoid the dilution or minimise the dilution that Dyesol shareholders would otherwise experience. Now, governments are the same the world over, so we don't like to make any predictions about the timing on this, but we have been in discussion with ARENA at various levels for 2 to 3 years now. They're very familiar with our plans, and I think it's a very important part of the current government's technology position that they would like to see technologies like Dyesol developed and commercialised from an Australian base, especially given the sad history we have had about losing some of our technologies to international ownership. So I remain confident, although we can never be totally confident until we actually secure those grants, as our experiences in Turkey so aptly highlight. In terms of Dyesol, this is a very important time of year for us. We have just completed our budgets. More and more the allocation of our annual spend is focused on research and development and less on corporate development, which is pleasing. We're also doing better than we have done in the last 2 to 3 years in terms of our sale of equipment and materials, and we expect it to grow again this year, and it's now expected to be profitable for the financial year 2017, even in the absence of any projected income from Nestle in Turkey, which potentially would be, as you would say, the icing on the cake for both sales of equipment and sales of materials. So very pleasing to see that part of our business more than just washing its face, but also contributing to the bottom line. I think the other point to highlight in terms of having a larger allocation of our annual spend devoted to R&D is the fact that that is increasingly eligible for R&D rebate. So we are managing to churn the funds that we raise through equity very successfully through the government's R&D rebate program, and the projected check for that for 2016, which we expect to receive somewhere around the end of September, can be as early as August, can be as late as early October, will be in the vicinity of $3.8 million, and we do have a lot of visibility about that because most of the rebate is subject to an advanced finding, so we have a strong degree of confidence that the claims that we make will be honoured, rather than submitting spend that hasn't been considered qualifying for R&D rebate. So we internally we're running very well. We'll retain a very similar head count that we did to 2016. Albeit there will be more heads in R&D and fewer heads in other parts of the business. And increasingly those heads are located at Queanbeyan in New South Wales as we've repositioned and reallocated headcount and transferred some of our science, for example, from our UK base to Australia to focus on some specialist activities such as sealing, for example, and some of those, and also pastes, for example, which is a key part of our material set. So a lot of that, an increasing amount of that activity is happening here in Australia. So again, that should be something which strongly persuasive in terms of our ability to secure further funding from the Australian government. We move forward, please, Eva.
Yes, 7, corporate and operational program.
Yeah, so while we remain on the corporate and operational theme, HOPV 2016 has just finished in Wales, in Swansea in Wales. Of course, that's not coincidental. That's where Specific is located, where we are a technology partner in that consortium. It was a very successful conference, although I didn't attend. Dyesol was the lead sponsor. Our principal reason for attending that is not only to learn more about what's happening in the academic community in terms of developing various aspects of the technology, but also is to promote Dyesol as the lead manufacturer and exporter of materials and equipment to the global R&D market. So last year we, as I said, we had a very successful year, and we expect revenues independently of Nestle to grow by about another 25% this year and make that activity profitable, which is very pleasing to see. And that activity has been under the management of a gentleman by the name of Lucas Sorbello, who's based in Rome for us, who's really driven that activity very strongly globally. We are now supplying to the likes of Oxford Photovoltaics, we're supplying to Stanford, we're supplying to the EPFL, and more recently we've been supplying into China, mainland China, since we've navigated our way through some of their internet filters, which allow universities in China in particular to get direct access to us on the web as a supplier of these materials and equipment. So every reason to be confident about a strong year in sales. Next page, please, Eva.
Yes, 8, research and development.
Yes, so moving on to R&D, very, very exciting time for us in terms of research and development, and I'm a little bit disappointed that that our shareholders and the investment community at large hasn't really focused on this as much as it should. We comfortably achieved our stretch goal of 13% for porous cut and strip cells for the quarter. In the words of our chairman of our Technology Advisory Board, Professor Michael Gratzel, he was absolutely thrilled with that goal. I've never heard him more animated in terms of just how important that was, because architecture that we seek to develop is not the standard architecture that academics tend to work with in order to achieve hero performance from their cells. Our technology or our architecture, porous carbon, is one that's meant to be extremely stable, minimising both hysteresis and minimising instability. And so the porous carbon architecture has very little organic content, which makes it particularly able to endure the harsh weathering effects of the sun, whether that be UV or whether that be just thermal instability. In the words of Professor Gratzel, he now believes that hysteresis is a thing of the past. And between Dyesol and the EPFL, the progress in terms of improved performance for the new architecture and also less and less hysteresis is something that's very exciting in terms of our commercialisation prospects. It's also worth noting there was very little variation in the results of our individual cells, and so that's very exciting. So minimal variation means that the peak result of 13.6% was in a very narrow band, with results of around the mean result of around 13.3%, plus or minus 0.25%, with the outlier being a 13.6% result. But that's very encouraging, especially if we can scale that now to larger and larger devices. At a 13% industrial performance, we would be producing a PV panel which will be highly competitive with all existing PV technologies. So there's a lot of work to be done, but we can only go on what we achieve on a monthly and quarterly basis, and to meet that milestone was particularly exciting, not only for us but also our close partners at the EPFL. If we move on to the next slide, I'll just finish off that discussion. Just to mention also that having just finished our budgeting for the next financial year, it's very important to allow our shareholders to understand that all the project activity funded for the next 12 months is very much focused on achieving the international standard IEC 61646. That goes across not only thermal and light soaking stability, but also thermal cycling, UV testing, and also some environmental testing. And that's very much our focus at the moment. And as we continue to scale to larger and larger devices, we'll keep the market informed. But as you can see, with the results coming thick and fast in around improved hysteresis and higher conversion efficiencies on larger devices with more and more stable architecture, albeit at a fraction of the cost that you get for silicon PV, then this is very exciting, given the fact that we all are looking to address a market which currently is estimated to be around $50 billion for FY 2016, which just concluded, and growing at somewhere between 10 and 15% for the next financial year. So you know, we can't wait to get to there fast enough. Of course, we've got to go through very sensible and mature steps in scaling the technology. We don't want to make any financial errors, and we need to spend our limited resources very carefully. But I'm very happy that the productivity we're getting from our R&D spend now is first rate. Next page, please.
10 or 11.
So also some exciting developments on our joint development agreement with Cristal. As you know, that we partner with Cristal because Cristal is a major subsidiary of Tasnee, our large strategic investor. Our closest relationship for that collaboration exists in the UK, where Cristal have a very large presence in the mid-northeast at a place called Starlingborough. And we're now collaborating with Cristal on the development of zirconia pastes, also new and more effective titania pastes. But beyond that, we're also doing some R&D at the innovation level, certainly at the new material level, and we're very, very excited to get some results in relation to iodide doped titanium, where we got a significant uplift to performance of our cells at a strip cell level. So we have jointly filed a patent in the name of Cristal and Dyesol to protect that intellectual property. We are now working closely with one of the universities in England to better understand how that improved performance has occurred at the atomic level. But if it is substantiated, it really could push this technology very significantly forward. Initial results showed an improved performance of somewhere between 3 to 4% on some cells, which is really quite remarkable. We need to understand that better, and it's very pleasing. As recently as last week, our academic partner outside of that joint development group received an EPSRC grant to fund that work. So that's fully funded. I haven't got any more details on that grant yet because it's really just a preliminary announcement. But those grants are typically in the vicinity of £250,000 to £500,000. So that should be more than enough to give us a better understanding from an analytical point of view to make sure that this is repeatable, and of course give us the confidence to go forward and take this patent to the national phase. We'll also be working closely with the EPFL as to develop higher performing cells, which of course is the focus that the EPFL have relative to Dyesol. We're more focused on stability and taking high performing cells, which are typically optimized at the EPFL, and translating them into larger devices and more stable devices. But together we make a very strong and complementary team. So something very, very exciting to look forward to there. We're also getting a better understanding while we're on the technology of how to actually measure performance of the cells. And we're working closely with the CSIRO on that, and also more recently we've been invited to work with the NREL in the United States, so that there's a uniform protocol that's developed across all academic institutions and for companies like Dyesol, such that that when we see reported performances, that we can understand that everyone's measuring the performance in the same way, because sometimes we see some outlier performance, and we have less confidence that the performance is being measured in the same way that we do. It's fair to say if we see anything that seems remarkable or incredible, then usually it's not credible. But over time, as the various institutions like the NREL, the EPFL, CSIRO use a common testing regime, then the results will be more and more comparable and real-world relevant. So that's something which is not uncommon in an emerging industry to go through these sorts of teething problems, but they're all very positive and show that the world is really investing a lot of time and energy and money into this technology because of its enormous and exciting prospects. Next
yes,
slide, please, Eva.
Manufacturing collaborations.
Sure. Just touch on this very briefly, but we have a new postdoc, Dr. Nihar Arora, working for us at the EPFL. We always fund a postdoc. Usually one of the leading recently PhD students in this field globally. We have a great opportunity to employ the best and to position them in the EPFL, and they're already getting some quite extraordinary results working with some inorganic new materials and producing 15% efficiencies on new devices. So as that's proven up, we expect again to have another source of potential upgrade for our industrial modules. Next, please.
Yes, 13.
I think it's 12.
Manufacturing collaboration.
I'll just touch on MAD.
Yeah.
Sorry?
12 is made area demonstration and...
Correct. That's what I'm talking about now.
Okay.
So we've just completed phase 1 of that three-phase project with VDL. VDL has scoped the technology. We'll be moving forward to phase 2 very quickly. Phase 2 is focusing on engineering and design. In the meantime, Dyesol will be working internally at a larger scale, so we're now moving from 10 by 10 to 65 by 45 centimetre modules, which will be a significant leap in scale for us. And we will be doing that confidently with our existing equipment set. So the handover point to VDL for the third phase, which will come after phase 2, which will be realisation and testing, will be an interface between our 65 by 45 modules, handing over to VDL to work at the 120 by 60 centimetre scale, which will make these modules available for showcasing, demonstration, testing, and accreditation. So that is moving forward at a very successful and rapid rate. We're enjoying the benefits of working with a world-class engineering team who've sometimes given us a better way at looking at some of the technical challenges of scale-up, and I'm very pleased with the results so far. Moving on quickly to Uporto and Soliance on page 13. We have reported that the Uporto project is running a little slowly. That's not particularly a big issue for us because the technology is not actually needed at this stage of development. It's something we'll be looking forward to incorporating into our modules over the next 6 to 12 months. So no issues there, and of course we only pay on performance. So all going there reasonably well. And of course at the commencement of July we began the Got Solar project, which is a very large EU-funded project where Dyesol is one of the lead for incorporating this novel sealing technology into also steel and flexible-based modules. So a big injection of funding coming there to be channeled significantly through Dyesol in its role at Soliance. So a number of different reasons why we expect that laser-assisted low-temperature glass-rich sealing project to meet its goals over the next 6 to 12 months and on time for incorporation into larger modules. I guess that probably touches off on Soliance, very much focusing on incorporating inorganic material set into the steel substrate-based architecture. Again, making good progress. As we are aware from the schedule or the commercialisation schedule, the PSC enablement of steel substrates lags glass by about a year, and we believe that project and schedule is currently on target. Page down, please.
Yes, financials.
And finally, in this brief presentation, just like to say or repeat that at the end of the quarter we had $4.6 million in the bank. Next month we expect a cheque from the government of $3.8 million. We have a number of other R&D grant applications in train, and it's important to remind our shareholders that Dyesol has no intention of coming to market to raise funds this year. Sometimes I know there's speculation, but it's currently not the intention of the board, given our cash flow projections take us safely into 2017. So I see no reason for concern there. And of course, with a bit of luck, if the Turkish project comes back on the stream, that is anticipated to be significantly cash flow positive for Dyesol. So that while we don't expect that, that would again further improve our position. So that's all for the moment. It's been a mixed quarter, but if we can really focus on what's most important for this technology, which is progress at the conversion efficiency and stability level, then I think it's been an excellent quarter, and we look forward to some of our commercialisation projects catching up with the technology as we continue to make progress technically. So maybe some time now for a few questions.
Yes, thanks a lot, Richard. Vielen Dank. Es sind schon eine ganze Menge Fragen reingekommen. Wir haben jetzt noch etwa 6-7 Minuten. Ich greife mal ein paar raus. Thanks a lot, Richard. So the first question might be, do you have any plans to sit together with Panasonic, the Australian glass partners, or others again?
I couldn't understand one word you said.
Do you have any plans to sit together with Panasonic, the Australian glass partners, and others again?
Oh, absolutely we do. Absolutely do. In relation to Australia, going forward, ARENA expects us typically to be jointly applying for these grants. So typically we partner with CSIRO, Dyesol, and an industrial partner, and nothing has changed in that regard. There's always delays, but that's part and parcel of dealing with government. But again, some of the recent discussions we've had since the election, all the way to the top with the CSIRO and at the ministerial level with government, gives us every confidence that we'll have the ability to make those arrangements more public if we're successful. In relation to Panasonic, we've had early stage discussions with them at Soliance. Our understanding that Panasonic, at least at the moment, is very much focused on battery development, which is complementary to what we do. So we don't see them as a potential partner or a potential threat at the moment, because our understanding is that their focus is very much is on battery development, and one of the reasons that they've joined Soliance. And of course, if you're aware of what's going on with Tesla at the moment and battery development in the United States, Panasonic is playing a very important role in that consortium.
Okay, thanks a lot. Another question regarding the share price. Why does the share price not reflect positive and in-plan developments?
Oh, I think it's quite simply the reason, because there have been disappointments and delays to our Turkish development. The Turkish project has a scale of potentially $200 million, and that's the sort of level we have been working at historically with the Ministry and also the Turkish Development Bank. And in fact, we received a letter of intent from the Turkish Development Bank to support such a large project. Of course, everyone needs to come together, all parties, to make these things successful, and while we're experiencing delay at the ministerial level, it's obviously been of great disappointment to some of our shareholders, and I've seen some selling. coming from our shareholders because of that. As I say, I think it's very short-sighted to worry about that too much. Of course, if you think Turkey is not going to restore democracy, that it's going to stop manufacturing, if you think that it is not going to move towards its renewable energy targets, then perhaps you may be justified in having a pessimistic view. Personally, I have a much more optimistic view about Turkey. The people I know and the people I speak to in relation to this are very visionary, intelligent, mature, responsible people, and they're looking forward to improving the level of technology and the standard of living in Turkey. As you know, it lags the standard of living of the rest of Western Europe, and they're very committed to improving life of their citizens. So I think this is a delay rather than anything more than that. But as I said, I'm not prepared to make a forecast about when order will be fully restored and we'll be moving forward in Turkey.
We only have 2 minutes left. Wir haben noch 2 Minuten. Da darf ich vielleicht schon die letzte Frage rausgreifen. Maybe already the last question, as you have to go at 1:45. Will there be exciting days for shareholders soon?
I very much hope so. Every morning I wake up in anticipation of an exciting day at Dyesol, and when it's not exciting, I have to remain satisfied that we're pushing hard through scale-up and commercialisation in terms of improving the technology on a daily basis. Of course, we need to bring some international or national projects together so we have clear vision about how this technology will be fully scaled. As I say, we do have a risk mitigation strategy in place. On a daily basis, we are talking to government in Korea, in Australia, in Turkey, and also in Eastern Europe, and to a lesser extent, and it's only because it's been quiet in Europe over the holiday period, we expect once everyone comes back from vacation that there'll be strong progress in the United Kingdom as well. So while, as I said, Turkey was our lead project, there are a number of other projects progressing in parallel which could easily spark up any day now, which would again provide an enormous amount of excitement for our shareholders. So I know you've had to be patient, but I remain confident that the shareholders for Dyesol will see significantly higher share prices once these projects come to realization.
Okay, thanks a lot, Richard. Vielen Dank. Wir müssen jetzt an dieser Stelle leider bereits das Web Meeting beenden. We just have to finalize the web meeting. Es gibt weitere Fragen, die jetzt unbeantwortet bleiben, diese werde ich an Dyesol senden. There are further questions which will be answered via Dyesol in the near future. Ich darf mich ganz herzlich bedanken, and Richard, maybe the last words from your side.
Well, I really just want to thank everyone for their ongoing interest and patience and commitment to this technology. It's always challenging, particularly for a small Australian company, but what's important for us is that we stay alive and we keep making progress, and we have very, very strict risk management in place, which means that we're able to storm disappointment and to weather disappointment, and when the good times come, we're in a very good to really build on our current share price. So I personally purchased another 510,000 shares in the last week or so, so that I hope is adequate demonstration of my belief in the long-term prospects for Dyesol shareholders. So thanks everyone for being online, and we'll speak at the end of the next quarter.